segments, they straighten out at a ratio of 1.168. So it's in all plant life. It's in all liquids, and think of all the seashells, all spiral things, pine cones. The list goes on and on and on. The ratio from this knuckle to this knuckle to this knuckle to that. Exactly 1.168. The ratio from the shoulder to the elbow, from the elbow to the fingertips. It's the golden mean, the golden mean, the golden mean, the golden mean, the golden mean. So, because the golden mean is so pervasive in every bit of life on this earth, and because we're in the abstract phase of this adventure, where images are forbidden, where pre-planning is forbidden, what's not forbidden is mathematics, abstract concepts of mathematics. And the golden mean can't be much better. A mathematical principle to guide us in the initial steps of creation. So the golden mean, take any relationship from this line to this line, and you're looking for something about here. So it's not center, right? Center would be here maybe. So it's this side of center. But it basically gives you a long piece and a short piece. This has to be noticeably longer than that. But you can't be that short, right? It's an eyeball thing. Now, a guy in Australia made it was a very cool thing. We bought one up. I gave it to my daughter because she's into art now. It was a 3-legged compass. And however you stretch these two far apart, this one always pointed at the golden mean. Very cool. So it's a mechanical thing. You can figure it out mechanically. I don't bother with that. I never even got past math in high school, so I'm not going to worry about numbers now. But I do know that it's someplace about in here in relationship to that distance. Okay? Now, so we could also say that the golden mean, instead of here, would be here. We're just flipping the coin, saying the big piece is on this end and the smaller piece is on that side. Okay? Same principle, one side or the other. So, we have a block, and it is this high. Right? So, one golden mean, if we're looking at this height, one golden mean would be someplace about in here. Are we in agreement with that?
Mm-hmm.
Its opposite golden mean would be more like down in here. If this was the big piece and that were the small piece.
Right.
So right off the bat, I have choices. I can pick this golden mean to play off of or this golden mean to play off of. Let's pick the upper one.
The smaller one.
It's not the smaller one. It's This is the short piece on top and the long piece on the bottom. This line here is the long piece on top
Okay, got it.
and the short piece on the bottom. It's just one or the other. My intuition tells me to pick the top one to play off of. It's random, yes, but it's also my intuition. There's another thing that I need to tell you, though, about the human body. Again, point A, point B. Golden mean here, right? Big piece on the bottom, shorter piece on top. You put the hips at this golden mean. Now, when you flip the golden mean and say this is the long piece and this is the short piece, that comes right down at the crotch. Crotch to head. Head is here. Nice neck, shoulders, rib cage. Never can go wrong. It's always going to fit on the paper. It's always going to fit in the block. Right? Just because that's the hips, that's one of the golden means. This is the short piece, or this is the long piece. Or if the crotch to the head, this is the long piece, and that's the short piece. If you're just looking at from the hips to the knee, that's the short piece. But from the knee all the way to the bottom of the foot is the long piece. It's fucking everywhere. So we need to put it in the stone. Once you've decided what golden mean you're going to play with, you have lots of other choices. So, if this is my golden mean, I can either keep it or take it away. Keep it or take it away. Choices. Before we go on discussing this plane of golden means, let's consider this plane. Let's stand up here. Okay, we got, if we're considering this distance and this distance, this little scar here is about at your golden mean, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This being bigger than that. Now, if we're considering this distance and this distance, that's, say, a golden mean. This piece being bigger than that. So this becomes an intersection of two golden means.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, that's pretty sacred. For no other reason than their golden means. It's just arbitrary. But it's like, I almost can't go wrong. So, we could play the game just the other way, right? Instead of saying our first line was here, our first line was here. And, we still end up, we actually can't have either one of those golden means. That can be our high point on the block. Keeper. Because also, I never, ever, ever want to lose 1 grain of height. I never want to lose 1 grain of width or depth of my original block. Unless I absolutely have to. The levers are squeezed into the block. right? I want to use every available. The leopard is squeezed into its block. So I have to make choices. Like what? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? What are the obstacles? What are the problems? I don't see any problems or obstacles. This is a little deeper on this side. This is a little less deeper. The deepness here doesn't really bother me. It gives me access. So I can arbitrarily, I'm going to select this one. Now, I'm a figurative sculptor. And I know that for a block this size, come over here and look at it. And let's just say that we want to leave a base. This figure standing on a base like figures. So let's just say we want to leave a base. Remember the width of my vise here. Okay? Well, now that fucks up everything, doesn't it? Because now this material is off limits. Now we're no longer considering this material in our calculations. Now we're considering this material in our calculations. Okay, so now this is no longer the correct golden mean. Oh, fuck. I just have to pound through my thinking step by step. And so I go, okay, and the new line is this and this, and so my new golden mean is here. It's not this line anymore. It's this one. It's new, because now if I put my hips here, I can have plenty of room for the knee, come down for the foot. Plenty of room. And I can have plenty of room for a head up here. And the neck, shoulders, rib cage. Plenty of room, right? But look at the size of my head. It's dinky. It's dinky. Well, it's not as dinky as this, but it's almost, yeah, it's close to that. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so to carve this size figure out of this block, how much material do we have to take away?
30%.
Way more than 30%. Way more than 30. Yeah. 60%, 50%. Mm-hmm. And so that tells me right off the bat that I'm not interested in carving a freestanding figure out of this block, because I'm just wasting all that stone and going to make something that's fragile. That could break or whatever it is. And so I'm going to abandon that idea right off the bat. But still, I know that the golden mean is going to serve me somehow. And it's good that at least I've figured out that it was here instead of there, because I'm avoiding a serious mistake. Right?
Yeah.
Because this is I needed to recognize that I had to present this someday. And it needed a base. And I hate pinning. I like integral sculptures that are worked into the stone. And again, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the characteristics of this stone that make it unique. One could say that this, well, first of all, what is this? This is defective, right? Look at this. This comes up. Someplace up around in here. And I think it peters out. So, there would be a logic in saying it's defective, let's take it off now. Let's get rid of it. And that's probably a good thing to do.
Where is it? Let me see.
You see, first of all, look at this. This is
That,
sticking out. You see,
right.
that's a defect.
So it would go up to
It,
here.
it goes up into here, but I think it peters out someplace about here. But I don't really know.
And so it would break like that.
Something like that. And
But wouldn't this be defective?
yes, that's all defective too. So
You don't want that. Or you
no,
could.
well, I'm just saying, theoretically, if you considered this to be part of the unique qualities of this piece of stone,
Not wasting it.
then you would guard this with your life,
Because
knowing
it's
that it's
fragile.
not going to fall off on its own. You see my thinking?
Yeah. No, I mean it.
It's just an idea.
Yeah. That you can take away.
I can take it away or leave it, but at least if you consider the options.
That it could possibly make the whole
thing. Yeah. Or it could be a problem that I end up saying, fuck this defect.
And bam.
You know, your history.
That's, I understand.
Okay, so, but whatever we end up carving out of here, it's not going to be a great big figure. It can't be. It just can't be. I say it can't be a great big figure, but I also say that, you know, if you say if you had a figure that was all curled up, kind of in a closed form, that would fill most of the stone. Then you wouldn't have to take anything away, right? I'm just trying to get you to really think totally outside of every box before we hit it, before we start breaking into it.
Right.
You know, let's just. My great teacher would say, you got to give yourself the chance for success. That means you set it up for success by thinking about golden means, thinking about the base before you start, thinking about some of the issues that need to come up. Just in terms of issues, this is a hole that
Hold water.
that's going to hold water, so definitely this piece has to go.
Yeah. See what you mean. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's one other thing I want to just show you over here. I set one of these up for you and me. It's another price. It's a 90-degree angle, 90-degree corner. Whenever I carve faces, carve it out at 90 degrees. Okay? And this is good. So once you've got the system down, you can really kind of another. So in this case, I carved my 90-degree corner at this angle, at this tip. And by carving my 90-degree corner, I'm able to control that all this material is good material. And I get a nice sharp corner. You're able to rough out to within millimeters. You'll see. You take off 3 little teaspoons, less than a teaspoon of stone, and you have your face. It's just so immediate. But you have to start from 90 degrees. So here we have some 90-degree corner to score. We have a bunch of them. Yeah. I've got another one here.
Oh, I see.
And, you know, I figured we could play with, there might be enough of a 90-degree right in here to get to do something. So, I suggest that for our first intervention, that we attempt to break this corner off. Let's say you,
Like that.
like that, as much as we can.
All the way down.
All the way down.
Okay.
So, to do that, what do? I'm tempted to come here with a drill and put a hole in here and stick a wedge in there and pop it off. One hole. I've learned a lot of things about splitting. I split beautiful curves by drilling enough holes and having enough wedges.
That's good.
If I'm on a great big block and I want to remove a good, 600-pound pieces, I'll come back here with 3 holes that look to focus
Towards
that single point. And this is slightly there. This one's cantered out this way, right? And they're all cantered towards the outside, but they're all pointed towards a single point down and deep in the block. And it's a sure thing you're going to take off
Bam, done.
massive pieces of stone, right?
Bizzle.
But this is a little piece of stone, and it's just a test hole and a test idea. So, what the fuck, is to get us warmed up. Let me get the splitting wedges. We're going to use the smaller wedges. These big ones are too big. You see this is small? Huh?
It looks like there's a lot.
Oh, they have, yeah. They've done a job. What the fuck? Now, these have been straightened out a little bit too much. So.
So I have a good vise at home. I don't use.
Give them a little bit of an ear. need to. I might go turn the compressor on just to blow that out. I'll get it. I'll show you what it is. This will one run, one person, one run. Two.
Right. And it goes all the way from there.
Yeah, that is. We even left the door open to compare with.
Yeah, that's really.
So like I say, my neighbors have never complained.
I don't even know what that is.
Like, you can barely see them, you know. I know that they're there. So, do you know the theory of splitting? How you set it up?
I would do it like that.
Yes.
Like that.
Yes.
I've never done it, but
Yeah, well, you
I
want
would
to
want it
be
goes that way.
that way. Yeah. Let me get the.
and it just that was a lot.
And he says, pick out anything you want, take any stone you want. And so I went to the garbage bin, and he had thrown this block away. It had a huge defect in it, and somebody had drilled a hole all the way through it from one corner to the other. Big 15-centimeter hole. And the defect came right in here, and you see it right here? See the defect? It's still there. And it came up here, and it came right underneath the knuckles, and you see it came out right through here. But I didn't see that. I thought the defect ended out here. And so I thought I had gotten all of it by the time I knocked it off. So it's broken, but it's never going to come apart. So that all came out with one blow of the big sledgehammer. I just hit it above the defect, and that whole section just plumped on the ground. And the hole had been drilled from this corner to that corner. So I took a hammer and smashed around the hole there, and I smashed around the hole on the other side, and I was standing up above it, and I saw the two heads, and the shoulders, and the arms. I carved this in 15 days.
It always looks like it's different color.
Well, it's veined.
Veined.
It really was a
Faded.
throwaway piece of stone.
I would never throw that away.
I know. This one was made 10 years later, and it's just called Oasis. She's a smaller block, slightly smaller, she's much narrower. The original I had much more stone to play with. I told you every sculpture has a story. This one at least has several. You see, notice I was telling you about the breaks.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's a broken surface. Because I knew I was carving this surface, I set up a break to be where I needed it. And then I never touch that again. That becomes sacred to me. So I had this whole thing was split out with a drill. And so I had big movements of stone going this way, and I had big splits out here, and a number of big splits out here. And all the movement was happening. And one of the Italian artisans came out to the back where I was working and washing his hand. And we stood looking at it. Come here and look at this movement down the whole body. Come and see. You see this, all this. That was all happening, even in his roughed out stage. And I said to the guy, "Isn't she beautiful, just like this?" And he said, "Yes, she is." I said, "I should leave it just like that. Just drill holes out." And he said, "You can't, you're too young. You gotta finish it." But anyway, by then I was at this stage of wanting to do the metamorphic thing, from the very crude block at the bottom to crude things. Here, once again, I have a split surface.
I see, yeah.
Exactly where I wanted it. I was interested in making, see, Italy was